Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Hi, it's Joyce Keller, back with you again on Blog Talk Radio. We have good news. We're going to be expanding onto YouTube and I'm not sure where else, but some other outlets. So you're going to be able to hear more of what we're bringing you every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. We're live in the New York area from 3 to 3:30 every Wednesday. And again, the good news is that Dr. Scott and I are going to be heard on YouTube and not sure where else, some other outlets as well. So we have that in the process, and that's very, very good. I wanted to say Dr. Scott will be with us shortly. I see that he's on hold, and we're going to be linking up with him very shortly. Okay, we had a beautiful, I hope you saw this, full moon, the sign of Pisces, at 1:24 this morning, again in the New York area. It was magnificent. I hope you saw it. It is really earth-changing. Okay, everybody's a little whacked out now, a little bit distressed about this COVID thing. Don't worry. You know, there's so much fraudulence going on. Dr. Fauci, whom we're supposed to be listening to, it's your choice, is saying that diagnostics, which has really been a major player in the whole situation with figures of how many people are dying every day, apparently they skewed the numbers, and there were millions of people reported as dead from the virus that really weren't. So Fauci said, okay, Quest Diagnostics, you're done, so he fired them. So we have no idea now what that whole thing is about. I know you're tired of it. You want it to go away, and it will. You're going to find that there's going to be a big blast, like around the time of the election, and then it's going to taper off into nothing. But it'll be around for like 3 years. You'll hear about it here and there. But the major blast of it, I believe, is over. You're going to have some resurgence, some recurrence happening here and there. Don't be worried about it. Dr. Scott and I are going to be talking about how you can boost and protect your immune system today and what's going on astrologically. These are things you need to know, so please take notes or remember them. Okay, I wanted to tell you I'm Joyce Keller. JoyceKeller.com is my website. That's JoyceKeller.com. And if you'd like a reading, or I've written about 10 books. I say about because a couple of them were republished by other printers. But they're out there. I don't have any, so don't contact me about the books, but go to Amazon or to a bookstore and request it if you don't mind, please. And let's see what else is going on. A lot happening. We have this whole vaccine thing, which we're also going to discuss. I have to tell you, I am so disappointed with my friends and acquaintances and people I know who are not doing their homework. As a part of the conversation, I'll say to them, well, would you be vaccinated? And the answer should be, the answer might be, I would do my homework first, and I would find out what's in the vaccine. How layered is it? What are the ramifications? Do you remember the whole thalidomide madness that occurred in the 60s, where kids were born without arms and all of that? That comes down to lack of proper testing. So now they're rushing it through, and people are saying, yes, I want to take it. I want, because they're terrified. Our country has been brought to its knees with terror. So we're here to kind of tell you how you can protect and boost your immune system so that you don't have to make that challenge about whether or not you want the vaccine. And now if it's forced on us, that's another whole thing. And they're talking about using tattoos instead for people who don't want the vaccine. And who said that's safer? So there's a lot of research. And the correct answer is, I will do my research. I will do my due diligence, as they say in legalities. I will find out about it. I will find out what is in the vaccine. And if I can't find out, then I won't take it because I don't want my children to be vulnerable. I don't want to be vulnerable. My children were never vaccinated because I fought to the death to see if they would not be vaccinated, and they were perfectly healthy, thank God. Okay, a lot of other people were not that healthy. What's up this whole autism thing about? It's like through the roof. Suddenly everyone's autistic. Why? What's going on? Okay, that's why we're here. And because we're live, we will take your phone calls for the next 28 minutes or so. If you give us a little call, we'd really appreciate it. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, please write this number down, 516-666-8448. We'll get you on the line with us quickly, try to get to you while we're on the air. If not, I'll get back to you after the show is over, so don't worry. We're doing free readings, free analysis, answering free questions, whatever you have in your mind, because we have done our homework. And Dr. Scott and I are both professionally intuitive psychics, mediums. We're here for you. So, again, it's 516-666-8448. I'm JoyceKeller.com. Again, the moon is in the sign of Pisces today. And it's a full moon, so it's extra, extra powerful. And a lot of people are very sensitive not because it's a full moon, but also because it's a sign of Pisces, which is the most sensitive, most intuitive, most mediumistic sign of all. That being said, we will now speak with the major leading Piscean of our planet, Dr. Scott Keller. How are you, Dr. Scott?
Wow. Hello. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Thank you. I'm doing great. Great intro. I think that in regard to some of the things that you were saying, we have some really incredible aspects going on in the universe right now that might explain why we're experiencing so much confusion and so much, I hate to say it, but frustration in our personal relationships. Anyway, I'm doing great, and I heard what you said about Fauci. I joined you a little late today, but, what can you say? We believe 50% of what we read, 40% of what we hear, and about 20% of what we see. So everything can tend to be a misnomer and have an agenda associated with it. So anyway, do you want to?
Let me jump right in.
Yeah.
And say, so what you're saying is brilliant. And the key is one of discernment and figuring out what's really going on. Don't trust anything you read. See, this is it. There was a time up to like 10 years ago where we could actually open a newspaper or television, radio, and there was a fair amount of credibility, right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
And so our discernment was kind of on the shelf a little bit. We didn't have to worry about what was real and what wasn't. So now everything has changed, and our Creator has said, okay, all of you, it's time for you to start thinking and discerning. Discerning means to decide what's true and what isn't. So, Fauci,
I think I can help you with that. I think we can.
Please help us out here. Help us out.
All right. So each week we start off with a little mission statement about the fact that we're here on this show and on our respective Zoom conference shows to be able to use certain tools that were left to us by the ancients, by the Vedics, by the sages as ways to improve and find abundance in all aspects of our lives. And one of those wonderful tools is using astrology and Ayurvedic medicine. So each week we talk a little bit about some of the major contributing factors. Now, you mentioned the fact that we're entering a full moon in Pisces. Actually went into full moon, I think, late in the afternoon or early evening yesterday, but most of its effects are being felt today. So what I want to do is I want to try to help out. We've been getting a lot of questions about what's going on astrologically and why is this such a transformative time. Is it okay if I just dive right in and try to get this over with? Because I know we got people waiting online, and I know there's a few questions that are coming in.
We would love that. We would love that very, very much.
Okay. All right, so just jumping right in, it continues to be an incredibly busy but very, very complicated week and 7 months. The first consideration is the fact this week, and, we've been focusing so much on the political discourse and the sociological transformations and changes that are going on. But this week is one of the weeks that I like to change the subject a little bit, just as a segue. Consider the fact that Venus, our planet of love and things that we adore, is in direct opposition to Saturn and Pluto. Now, you asked me earlier, and we had a question also this week, what does it mean to oppose? Very simply, if you just think of the universe as a clock, Saturn and Pluto are at 12 o'clock, and they're opposing, meaning they're in direct opposition at 180 degrees to Venus. This can be wonderful or this can be horrendous. It depends what the aspects are, and it depends on a couple of other variables. But right now, it's not great, and I'll tell you why. Venus, the planet of love and romance, all the things that bring us joy and happiness in the world, is also not only opposing Saturn, the planet of corrections, but it's also opposing the planet of war, Mars. What does this mean? Well, I don't want anybody to get bogged down with these heavy configurations. Just at the end of this conversation, what can we do about it to improve our lives and to find harmony and bliss? It means potentially that there could be conflict with people that we love because they're going through this square also. Venus being in opposition to Saturn at the same time as it's squaring Mars means that these challenging squares could produce fighting or even, opposition to our precious, loving Venus. These kinds of arrangements bring us to realization of things that were previously not known. It brings mystery to light. They also mean that there could be potential conflict that can lead us to, I hate to say it, but the end of a relationship, because Uranus is also involved. And you know what Uranus is. Uranus is the planet of sudden realizations and sudden reactivity. Now, these guys are the big, big players, and they're all fighting with little poor baby-loving Venus. So many of us have felt that they're unhappy in relationships, and they want to understand and experience a better sense of freedom because they've been in something that's not been a productive relationship. That's what you're going to be feeling very strongly this week. It's my strong suggestion, unless you're absolutely committed, and I think this is what you're experiencing with some of the frustration with some of your friends, because I'm experiencing it too. The strong suggestion is that unless you're absolutely committed to leaving and starting over, these conflicts with loved ones should be kind of taken with a grain of salt, because we're kind of getting like an amplification of things right now. So that's the forewarning in regard to our relationships based on what's going on this week. On the good level, however, yesterday, the moon, our planet of emotions, our aspect of emotions, is leaving that idealistic, philanthropic, freedom and liberating-seeking Aquarius and entering into the full moon of the emotional, loving Pisces. This is going to be in place for two days, but it's going to be felt most strongly today. So by the end of the week, the moon is going to be leaving Pisces, and it's going to be going into that driving force, Aries. So that's going to be a whole other conversation, because remember, the moon only stays in one sign for about 48 hours. In fact, the moon's only full, I think, for maybe 2 hours, but its effects are usually felt the day before and the day after. So how do we bring this into full scope? Let me see if I can help give a little clarity here. And when we consider the aspect of all what's going on, Venus, which is opposing Mars, while the new moon and the full moon is in that emotional Pisces, it's asking us, do we want to escape the challenges that are being presented to us? Pisces, which I can say as a quadruple Pisces, I know this very, very well. Pisces is an energy that can easily revert back into escapism, and we can revert back into escapism through things like substances like alcohol, drugs, sex, television, food, things like that. Or do we want to use this as an opportunity with this physical earthbound Mars challenging us to ask, do we finally want to face off and opt for a better option, which would turn us away from that earthbound Maya and base-like energy and turn towards the light dimension, which is what we always talk about on the show. At the end of this configuration, Saturn and Pluto are causing us to experience lessons of death and transformation, and that's what this whole thing has been about for the last 7 months, and that's why what you're saying regarding Fauci and regarding the vaccines becomes, particularly poignant. So to put it simply, on an astrological level, we're basically being brought down to the final periods right now. As you said, this whole thing is going to be coming to an end very soon, and we're going to be asked, do we want to adhere to the old order socially, politically, and most importantly, individually? And of course, it all starts with us acting as one of the 8.2 billion different participants on the planet. And so it all starts with us making our own personal corrections because of Saturn and Pluto being in that transformation element for the last 7 months. Now, I know a lot of that might be confusing, so we are absolutely open to answering any questions.
Okay,
Joyce,
good.
did you get all that? What do you think?
Yes, okay. We have a lot of questions, a lot of emails coming in, joycekellertvradio@gmail.com. And let me start, I don't even know where to begin. Number one, in answer to Robert, the answer is do your homework. Learn and don't be trusting. Don't listen to what everyone is telling you, especially on television, because that's going to be skewed. You have to learn the truth. God is saying to you, learn what's really going on and use discernment. Okay, that's an answer to Robert. Number 2, how long will it go on? I think the eclipse on this coming December 14th, 2020 is going to be major and very transformational. And the real high point comes Christmas Eve. I want you to remember that. It seems like it escalates. It reaches a peak around December 14th at the time of the eclipse. And then it continuously, God willing, if we all keep our consciousness high enough, it will taper off. It's almost impossible to do predictions about this now because it has to do with mass consciousness. Are you hiding, as Dr. Keller just said, are you hiding in alcohol and drugs and cookies and whatever else may be involved? Or are you going to face up to it and say, look, this is not the way to go? Also, suicide. I have so many people who are coming to me who are beyond suicidal, who have attempted suicide. It either didn't work or, worse yet, it did work, and they're coming from the other side, and they're saying, I shouldn't have done that because the lessons have become more severe, and you go over without the guidance and protection you need. Okay, that's it. Again, this goes on.
That's a good point.
I'm sorry, Dr. Keller.
It's okay. I want to jump in on you. I mean, it's a really good point. We're working here in our center in South Florida, here in Fort Lauderdale. We get a lot of clients where we do a lot of readings like what you do. Obviously, as I'm an offspring of one of the world's best intuitives, and I'm also using medical intuition, but we're also doing readings for people on an astrological and Ayurvedic level, and people are continually asking the question, what do we do as participants in the whole to address this? And it really comes down to something what I consider very Ayurvedic. We're each a participant of the whole, and we have to make our own personal corrections. And that is done. That's something that's done by doing our own personal birth charts and by looking at our own personal Ayurvedic profiles. Now, before we started the show, you asked the question about what can we do to help boost the immune system, because that kind of factors in as well. People are really suffering. People are gaining weight. People are very inclement, very frustrated. Well, I wish there was an across-the-board answer. It's okay if I jump in because you were going to ask the question about immune systems. Well, immunology is kind of based on the individual. We have this concept that across the board there are immune boosters, like everybody should be taking vitamin C or propolis or cayenne and turmeric. I say that's actually a misnomer because what we want to do is we want to consider the individual. Take myself, for instance. Well, cayenne and turmeric across the board are great ways to boost the immune system, right? Now, not for me. I come from that. And you do to a degree also. You come from that Ayurvedic body type, which is type A, and it's prone to overheating. Do we really want to put another heated substance like cayenne or ginger in our body? No, a better option for an individual with high pitta energy would be to use something like parsley or cucumber or fish oils. So that was just one of the questions that I wanted to answer before we went too much further.
Okay.
And then,
let me jump in.
Yeah, you have questions.
For those pale, pasty people like me from New York, we don't go out in the sun, yet we need vitamin D.
Yeah.
So I take a lot of vitamin D, and I don't think it really has very much of a toxic level. I think you can pretty much not worry about it. Just take it. So I take a lot of vitamin D3 a day, usually about 5,000. I don't want to recommend. I'm not recommending. I'm telling you what I do for those pale, pasty people who cannot go out in the sun. Now, for those people who do go out in the sun, Dr. Keller, do you think they still need vitamin D3?
Well, you know what? There's an old saying: if you can get something naturally from the standpoint of taking in prana and chi, our body's own natural energy sources, it's always better, I feel, to imbibe something that's less processed. And of course, every time you take a vitamin D or a vitamin of any kind, it's been processed repeatedly and over again, and has packers and fillers and things that your body has to compete with in order to absorb and to process that nutrient. However, we live in an incredibly synthesized world. What are we going to do? We got to find balance somewhere. So, I take a ton of vitamins, so I don't want to be hypocritical about it. But whenever possible, we want to be able to blend and mix with the natural sources the best we can. You're a tough cookie because you are super reactive to the sunshine. in the Ayurvedic world, we would say that there's a toxic imbalance in your body somewhere that needed to be rectified first. But in the interim, what do? Well, you bounce in a whole bunch of, synthesized vitamin D, and if it helps boost your immune system, then, you continue doing it. And if it doesn't, you look for another source. I think that's the most mature and conservative doctoring approach.
Yes, that's brilliantly said, and I have to agree with that. We have another question. Okay, some of these questions I can answer off the air. I have a question tomorrow about actually Friday, about your Zoom session. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Every Friday we offer a totally complimentary Zoom conference class on astrology and Ayurveda. It's all focused on how to be able to use these incredibly helpful ancient sciences, which, are close to 10,000 years old, when our current medical model, which is ironically based on Ayurveda, is only about 100 years old. And it's basically, founded in the concept of surgeries and drug application medications. But when we can use natural ways of altering your lifestyle with food changes, dietary changes, lifestyle changes, colors, relationship changes and alterations, we can extract the best balance for anti-inflammatory and alkalized type of lifestyle. So we talk about these things on our Zoom class. You can join the Zoom very easily. All you have to do is call our office. We're here in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale at 631-375-8702. Or you can get on the website. It's www.ask-drscott.com, and we'll get you hooked up. We'll join about maybe 20, 30 people we're up to right now, and many people have a lot of questions, and we're trying to answer those questions.
Yeah, best of all, it's fun. So,
yeah, you've been joining. Thank you.
I really like to have a good time. I think having fun raises energy more than anything else. Sometimes
100%.
things just get to be too much. And I say, one more reading. If I have to do one more reading about suicide, I'm going to commit suicide myself, which of course I would never do. But the energy goes so low because you give out to so many people. So at that point, of course, you use prayer and meditation. You say, God, help me restore my energy. You use smudging, water, whatever it takes, whatever works for you. But I think, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, I love going on my little cell phone, and I go to the Comedy Channel 24/7, and it's just one joke after another. It's Robin Williams, it's Rodney Dangerfield. It's the greatest. It's like 1 minute each. They just go from one to the other, and you can turn it on 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're still joking and having fun. So the point is that fun, laughing and joking, sunshine. Now, very important point, Dr. Keller. And I always called you Dr. Keller, even when you were eating it with your little bib on, your high chair. Talk about zinc packs. Do you feel that zinc packs in combination with vitamin C and D, for those folks who may or may not have had COVID already or who are afraid of getting it, the best protection, of course, is C and D, but do you think that zinc is an important part of that? And that's another question that came in.
Yeah, I like your approach. I think that anything that releases serotonin from the brain, and I think the first line of defense when it comes to serotonin is laughter and joyous living. That's why meditation becomes so important. In the Ayurvedic world, we have 3 different types of meditation based on the Ayurvedic body types. But without getting too detailed into that, across the board, meditation brings out a lot of serotonin. So does doing joyous activities like watching the Comedy Channel and watching Rodney Dangerfield. So is sex and chocolate. But, all these things are not always available.
Wait. You said that too fast. Go back to the sex and chocolate part.
Sex and chocolate. Sex, chocolate, the Comedy Channel, joyous times, having wonderful time, looking for ways to create joy and being with people that we love. Those things all, dilate the pupils and release serotonin, and, they have an indirect way of raising our T cells, which increases our immune system. But, as far as zinc and vitamin C goes, without getting too Ayurvedic about it, I think I like those very much. I do really well on those, and I think they're pretty neutral across the board. And also zinc is being touted as being one of the best new ways to increased male virility, so we like that. So vitamin C, I think, is pretty neutral.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So women can take zinc, but probably not a lot. Okay, another question
not
is
too
about
much. Just trace minerals, so you don't want to go out of bed.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay. So I know that about women. Okay. So another question comes in about extreme depression, and you were just talking about that now, and the problems that come with that. So the depression, because of the unemployment that we're dealing with now, people losing their homes and so forth, and people suddenly being dumped out on the street. Do you have some, for the folks who can't have Ayurvedic medicine or anything like that, emotionally, can we address that on an emotional basis of what they can do as far as an affirmation or positive thinking or positive feeling? Is there something we can offer the folks who are suddenly homeless?
Yeah, you know what? I like what you said earlier, and this is a really challenging time. And, this week has been really tough. I had 2 friends who lost people who were very close to them, and they were young, too. And I don't really know that there are any great, wonderful words of wisdom. But, in our center here, we always come back to this concept of being present-minded, and we remember what Siddhartha Buddha talked about. He says that the root of all suffering has to do with projection of our expectations going forward and trying to control the actions of movement forward, when in fact being present-minded is probably the only thing we can do to achieve actual happiness and state of mind. And that comes through breathing techniques and meditations and really just self-awareness or understanding, we're only in this moment and what's coming forward hasn't happened yet, and it really is just an illusion. So other than that, I really don't think I have much to offer. I welcome people to come into our office and we'll do a reading. Yeah.
Yeah, what you said. You go to your office, call you on the phone, give your number again.
The number here at the office is
631-275-8770.
Good, thank you. I think we're approaching the end of the show now, right? We have,
no. We have plenty of time. We have almost 3 minutes. So in those 3 minutes, I wanted to say that it's really important that you do yoga every day. Yoga only means union. It's union with your higher self, union with God, whatever you wish to connect with. Now, when you were very, very little, Scott, you were, I'm going to say, maybe 6 months old, 7 months old, we started doing yoga, pranayama, breathing techniques at that time. And you and your sister and your dad and I were doing the complete breath, and we were doing the alternate breath. And you thought it was the funniest thing ever. You were sitting in your little high chair, and I was saying, look, you take your thumb and you put it on the right side of your nostril, and you thought that was the funniest thing ever. But that's the alternate breath where you balance your energies.
I still think it's funny. I still think it's funny. We do hatha yoga and pranayama breathing exercises all the time. I fight to not laugh and shoot the formula out of my nose like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, so we always had a lot of fun with that. And the important thing is that people do some yoga breathing, even if you're in a wheelchair, like a lot of people are very ill right now. See if you can, even if you're on a respirator, you can still do the complete breath where you try to bring your breath down to the lower part of your lungs. Now, Scott always tells me that I don't breathe adequately, which is probably true. I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
We're all breathing too shallow right now. I think it's on a physiological level, it's important to remember that the oxygenation into our bloodstream from airborne oxygen is only 20% efficient in the upper lobes of the lungs. But when we're in that fight or flight, stressed out place, we have a tendency to do that very rapid, shallow breathing. That is a fight or flight defense mechanism that keeps us alive in the short term. But in the long term, it produces a ton of cortisol and adrenaline, which is aging. So what we do is we slow down, we do deep breathing, and we try to oxygenate the lower lobes of the lungs where we have better infusion of airborne oxygen into our bloodstreams. It helps reduce aging, and it helps raise the immune system. Yeah.
Now we're almost out of time. I wanted to say www.ask-drscott.com. I'm JoyceKeller.com. We love you all so very, very much. Thank you for being with us, and thank you, Dr. Scott. As always, you've been terrific. And
my pleasure. Thank you. Any questions? We welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep laughing. God loves
Keep laughing.
Take care. Bye, folks. Thank you, folks.
Ciao, ciao.